Welcome to the new Chemist podcast, one of the best chemistry podcasts globally. We are glad you are listening. We encourage you to subscribe and continue to listen.
Welcome to the new Chemist podcast. We are glad you are listening. We are one of the best chemistry podcasts globally. We encourage you to subscribe and continue to listen.
Welcome to the new Chemist podcast.
We are so glad you are listening. Feel free to subscribe on Spotify and tell your friends and colleagues about the podcast.
Our Deepest Fear by Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Our Deepest Fear by Marianne Williamson. You are very important, especially to us here at the New Chemist podcasting group. You listening in is significant.
Vous êtes très important, surtout pour nous ici au New Chemist Podcasting Group. Votre écoute est significative.
Usted es muy importante, especialmente para nosotros aquí en The New Chemist Podcasting Group. Usted escuchando, es significativo.
Você é muito importante, especialmente para nós do The New Chemist Podcasting Group. Você ouvindo, é significativo.
Είστε πολύ σημαντικοί, ειδικά για εμάς εδώ στο The New Chemist Podcasting Group. Το να ακούς είναι σημαντικό.
Sie sind sehr wichtig, besonders für uns hier bei The New Chemist Podcasting Group. Es ist wichtig, dass du zuhörst.
Je bent erg belangrijk, vooral voor ons hier bij The New Chemist Podcasting Group. Dat je meeluistert, is veelbetekenend.
You are very important, especially to us here the New Chemist podcasting group. You listening in is significant. Welcome to the New Chemist podcast.
Bienvenidos al podcast del nuevo químico.
Καλώς ήρθατε στο podcast του New Chemist. Welkom bij de podcast van The New Chemist.
Bienvenue sur le podcast du nouveau chimiste.
Bem-vindo ao podcast do novo químico.
Welcome to the New Chemist podcast. Work hard. Be value-driven. You can do it. You can grow and learn it. You can be the difference you and your community needs. Don't give up. We are here, rooting and cheering for you. Don't give up.
Travaillez dur. Soyez axés sur la valeur. Tu peux le faire. Vous pouvez grandir et l'apprendre. Vous pouvez être la différence dont vous et votre communauté avez besoin. N'abandonnez pas. Nous sommes ici pour vous encourager et vous encourager. N'abandonnez pas.
Trabalhar duro. Seja orientado por valores. Você consegue. Você pode crescer e aprender. Você pode ser a diferença que você e sua comunidade precisam. Não desista. Estamos aqui torcendo e torcendo por você. Não desista.
Δούλεψε σκληρά. Να οδηγείτε στην αξία. Μπορείς να το κάνεις. Μπορείτε να μεγαλώσετε και να το μάθετε. Μπορείτε να είστε η διαφορά που χρειάζεστε εσείς και η κοινότητά σας. Μην τα παρατάς. Είμαστε εδώ για να σας ζητοκραυγάσουμε. Μην τα παρατάς.
Trabaja duro. Sea impulsado por el valor. Puedes hacerlo. Puedes crecer y aprenderlo. Usted puede ser la diferencia que usted y su comunidad necesitan. No te rindas, estamos aquí animándote y animándote. No te rindas.
Werk hard. Wees waardegedreven. Je kunt het. Je kunt groeien en leren. U kunt het verschil zijn dat u en uw gemeenschap nodig hebben. Geef niet op. We zijn hier om voor je te roten en te juichen. Geef niet op.
Work hard. Be value-driven. You can do it. You can grow and learn it. You can be the difference you and your community needs. Don't give up. We are here rooting and cheering for you. Don't give up. Thanks for listening. We're glad you were able to tune into this podcast. Once again, this is the New Chemist, where we discuss chemistry, which simply put is the science of change, as well as the other sciences, careers, community, research, and COVID-19. Thanks again for listening. Note: The views on this podcast represent those of my guests and I.
In the world of pharmacy, we lay the claim. Knowledge and compassion is the golden flame. Science and practice, side by side they groove. In a student's journey, we find the move.
Welcome to the New Chemists podcast. We are glad you are listening. We are one of the best chemistry podcasts globally. We encourage you to subscribe and continue to listen.
Hey, an adaptation. Hey, no consternation. Once upon a time there was a professor who had to print his name, Nemio Structurio, and his brother Reactivio, Acidio, and his brother Basicio, Nucleophilicio, and his brother Electrophilicio, Equilibrio, Stereochemical, Sterical, and his brother Electronico, and Regio Selectivio. Each prince was more complementary than their brother. They all stayed in the mine town called Organico-Chemical. One evening when, during the mystical week known as finale, they all came together to compete at the yearly games. Nemio was notoriously a political person who voted for the PLP, aka Principal Locant Parent Chain Suffix. Principal Locant Parenting Suffix. Structure competed in the dance competition, showing his routine independence and bond-line forms. Reactilio participated in the track competition, particularly in the race called the Kinetic 500. Acidio and Basicio competed in the meditation competition, with Nucleophilicio stretching the farthest and Electrophilicio serving as the catcher for the cheerleaders. Equilibrio participated in the annual Chassis fencing competition. Furthermore, Stereochemical participated in the art competition focusing on the 3D drawings. Sterical and Electronico, being first rivals, competed in the rowing competition, with Sterical winning at points and Electronico winning at points. The boat race is still ongoing. Regio Selectivio competed in the map reading competition. These princes still compete today, and the story continues. Hey. Welcome to the New Chemist. We're glad you're listening. Feel free to download this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Here on the New Chemist, we discuss chemistry, which simply put is the science of change, as well as careers, community research, and COVID-19. We're happy you're tuning in. My guest today is Mike Zott. Thanks for joining me today. It is good to hear from you. Just briefly, I'll inform my audience about you. Mike Zott is currently a graduate student at California Institute of Technology. He is studying inorganic chemistry. He graduated from Georgia Institute of Technology. Mike has received the Resnick Fellowship and the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship and numerous awards while at Georgia Tech, namely the American Chemical Society's Undergraduate Award in Physical Chemistry, Peter B. Sherry Outstanding Senior Award in Chemistry, Dr. William H. Eberhardt Memorial Scholarship, President's Undergraduate Research Award, and Letty's Family Scholarship. He speaks both Catalan and Spanish. A hardworking young person and a future leader in the chemical sciences. Please welcome Mike Zott. Hello, Mike. It's good to see you. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. So, my first question for you is, what has been some of the most beneficial advice you have received?
I think the most beneficial advice I've received, at least in the context of, I guess, the greater purpose of our discussion, which is talking about chemistry and kind of the way we interact with world as chemists and the way that we think about the world as chemists, is essentially like kind of the the advice that's pretty general, like never give up and keep on trying. If you get knocked down, you have to get back up again. And I think in the context of chemistry, this is probably the most important advice I've had, because when you're doing research, most likely your experiment is not going to work. Probably out of 100 experiments you do, maybe like, depending on which exact field of chemistry you're in, like 50 of them, 70 of them, 80 of them will fail. So really for me, I think the most important thing has been being told and being affirmed that failure is normal and that you just have to keep working and try again.
Yeah, I agree. That's important, to persevere. So, do you have any advice for those wanting to pursue the field you are currently working in?
Yeah, I would say my advice for someone who wants to be in chemistry is that they need to really seek out people who can give them guidance. I think you shouldn't wait for someone to say, like, let me help you. I think you have to be really proactive. Kind of like you've been doing with this podcast. You're reaching out to people, you're seeing what's worked for them in their careers, and especially lots of chemists. You're reaching out to them, the people who have experience in the field, and you're seeing like what made you successful, what worked well for you. I think you really have to look around and find a mentor who can, or mentors, multiple mentors who can really help guide you in your path, because there's a lot you can miss if you're trying to walk the path alone.
Okay, so would you say that mentorship has played a large role in your development as a chemist?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's good. So why did you choose chemistry as a field to major in your undergraduate years?
Yeah, so initially I chose biochemistry, which was kind of motivated out of, I like chemistry because it's a mixture of kind of applied science and then also fundamental science. It's called the central science often. And I chose biochemistry because I liked the relationship between the chemistry side and also kind of like the more medicine type side. I didn't want to be a doctor, but I thought it was really cool to see how chemistry and different like therapeutics can help the body, how you can like heal humans using the knowledge of chemistry. But as I progressed in my study of chemistry, I got more interested in things that went beyond just like chemistry interacting with humans, but just chemistry interacting with the whole world, which is kind of how I shifted more towards inorganic chemistry, where I was interested in how chemistry in humans using chemistry, either as chemists or as people driving cars or using plastic materials, whatever it may be, interact with the world. And I really liked how inorganic chemistry could help shape the way we interact with the whole world.
Okay, so what do you mean by that? What specific ways, or even more, to be even more specific, what specific area of inorganic chemistry is your research centered around?
Yeah, so my interest in inorganic chemistry even surpasses just my research. I'll talk about both, I guess.
Okay.
In terms of like in general, inorganic chemistry, for example, like all of the plastics around us, most of them are made using inorganic catalysts. Plastics play like a huge role in our world, and this has been like our development that happened within like the several decade time span that was a really important contribution from inorganic chemistry. Also, if you look at like a lot of the like industrial feedstock chemicals we have to use, like ammonia is one that's central to our research group, because ammonia is important for fertilizer and then as a nitrogen feedstock chemical.
Okay.
Inorganic catalysts are like necessary for providing more ammonia for both fertilizer and feedstock applications. There's also like hydrocarbon cracking. There are all sorts of different industrial applications that really heavily rely on metal catalysts. So inorganic chemistry really appealed to me as something that spanned so many different like areas of our life where we may not even realize it. Even just in your car, like your catalytic converter in your car is inorganic catalysts. Now, my own research, what's interesting, our group deals quite heavily in the nitrogen cycle, although we also look at other small molecule activations. I work for Jonas Peters at Caltech to provide some context. We work a lot in the nitrogen cycle, and I work in the conversion of ammonia and nitrogen. So our group historically studies the process where you take nitrogen and you convert it to ammonia, which is called nitrogen fixation. One of the most important industrial processes, the Haber-Bosch process. But recently, well, not even recently, for decades, there's been interest in using ammonia as fuel because ammonia doesn't have any carbon in it. So if you use ammonia as fuel, not necessarily combust, you could also use it like a fuel cell or some other application. Using ammonia as fuel would be a carbon-free fuel, and that's been something that people are really interested in recently because there's a lot of push towards avoiding the carbon-based fuels because of concerns about global warming. But even more importantly, to me, like, carbon-based fuels will run out. Like, that seems to be something that's hard to debate. No matter how much people may have different perceptions on the prospects of global warming, if you use up a resource, you will run out of it. And carbon-based fuels are hard to replenish. So you can either do research in replenishing carbon-based fuels, which is a really active and important area of research, or you can research alternative technologies that don't rely on the carbon-based fuels. So this could be like capturing solar energy, wind energy, any of these things, or storing that energy in different fuels, one of which could be ammonia. So that's what my research deals with, turning ammonia into nitrogen as a new carbon-free fuel.
Okay, that's good. So if you had to give along the same lines of advice and career paths, how have you been able to be so academically successful as a student? What would you attribute to your success? Or who, or what process, or pattern, or lifestyle?
Yeah. I think for this question, it's really important to acknowledge my parents, because my parents, I think having two parents who were really interested in my academic success was really helpful. Both of them were really involved in like pushing me to study and really prioritize that in my life, making that like really important for me, not like diminishing its importance and saying like, yeah, school's all right, but why don't you focus on like all these other activities also? Like, they did let me do other activities. I played soccer my whole life. I ran track when I was in high school. I did a lot of other activities, but they weren't like forcing me to do anything. They gave me the ability to make my own choice, but they imparted how important education was, which I'm really grateful for, because even though I really liked soccer when I was a kid, like, it's unlikely you're going to become a professional athlete, for example. So, and I also like suffered a lot of like injuries when I was doing sports, where that would have like had a really negative effect if I wanted to keep playing sports. So like, I chose not to try to play sports in college because of injuries I had in high school. Whereas like focusing on academics, because my parents made me focus so much on, or didn't make me focus so much on academics, but made me realize how important it was. That was like a gift that I've been able to keep like across many different circumstances. So I think that's a really important factor in terms of making me see that it's important. I think a lot of people, although to people like us who are like grad students or beginning their career as a graduate student, it seems like obvious that education is important. I think not everyone is of the same opinion where they don't necessarily think it's that important.
Okay.
And I don't think education in the like college education itself is the most important thing. Like, I also think it's really important to have education for like more like not college education career paths, so like being a electrician or being a mechanic or some other skill like that. I think that's also really important, and I include that also in education.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. for example, like in the Bahamas, they have different paths that students can take, and one would be a strictly academic route, and there's also a pathway in which you can study at a technical and vocational institute. So yeah, both play a large role in development and providing job security and good opportunities for people to find work. So how do you maintain a balanced life given all your responsibilities and accomplishments? Or how are you trying to maintain a balanced life?
Yeah, I think that's a kind of, I'm not a great person to ask about this because I'm kind of, the way that I operate is kind of like my PI, he's told me many times, like, graduate school is a marathon.
Yeah.
But my response to that question is that I'm a sprinter. When I was in high school and I ran track, I was a sprinter. Like, my mentality is always like to go fast.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm trying to work on a bit, like being more patient. So I'm not really great with the whole balancing thing. Pretty much what I do is, like, I work really hard for a while, and then after that I'll rest for a while, and I kind of go in cycles, which is a fair strategy, but maybe the marathon strategy is slightly better. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm the best source for this question.
Okay, well, it's good to, I would say this, it's good to work and to rest. And the fact that you have found a way to incorporate both into your studies is very beneficial. So, how do you maintain vision and teamwork in your environment?
Yeah, so I think that really ties in well with the last question about maintaining a balanced life in the notion of being a sprinter versus being a marathon runner. I think a really important thing is patience. I think patience has to be like one of the most important lessons I've learned in graduate school. And I think it's what is of utmost importance in maintaining vision and teamwork, because when you work in a team, inevitably people are going to want to work at different rates. They're going to want to have different thoughts. They're going to want to explore different pathways. You might disagree on which pathway you want to work on. So I think really patience is really important for maintaining vision and teamwork, because you need to really be patient and see where the other people on your team are coming from. You need to, like, really get in their shoes and see, like, how are they thinking about the problem? Like, what are their thoughts on the problem? Not what my thoughts are on the problem. Like, what are my teammates' thoughts? And in order to do that, it takes time, and that means you need to be patient with the other people to figure out, what their thoughts are.
Yeah, I agree. Patience is very important, and it allows you to be considerate, conscientious, and to work collaboratively and effectively with people, especially in scientific environments. So, along the lines of environment, how have you sought or found the right environment for you to thrive scientifically and or intellectually? How are you finding that environment, or how did you find it?
Yeah, I think this is really something that just takes, like, personal experimentation. So for me, like, the right environment for me to thrive, a lot of it has to do with, like, when I work and how I work. So, like, for me, I figured out that I like to work, like, later at night. I'm much more effective when I'm working later at night. So being in grad school, where I have a pretty flexible schedule, I've been able to make my schedule such that I can work in the hours that I'm more productive, which is usually working later at night. And yeah, I think that's the main thing. I don't really know about other factors. Maybe you have some other factors in mind that you could bring up. But
so you're basically saying personal experimentation. It requires some personal reflection and self-discovery, and understanding yourself and how you fit into the environment. Yeah. So
understanding how you fit in the environment is really important, and it takes the two factors. You have to see the environment, which is one factor, but you also have to do the self-reflection, which is really important. You have to, like, actively ask yourself, like, is what I'm doing working?
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Because, I've heard different takes on this after interviewing several people. Self-discovery is important, self-reflection is important. Yes, finding a good environment is important as well. But, sometimes you can complement to the environment becoming what you want. You can be a change agent in that environment, even as a beginner or learner. Because, I've interviewed other people and they've stated how they've complemented to creating the environment that they wanted to see, or shaping the environment in the direction or a path that was aligned with what they value, thought to be true. So, how have you been adaptive and creative in the field of science? What specific ways or areas have you been adaptive or creative in science?
Yeah, I think this question, I can't say that I'm necessarily adaptive and creative. What I'll say is that there's nothing new under the sun.
Okay.
I think the most adaptive and creative things I've been able to do that may seem adaptive or creative, I think come from looking very vigorously at what's already known. Okay. So in the context of chemistry, there are so many papers that have been published over, like, say, the last 200 years. And there's been so much research by so many people. And oftentimes, small paths of investigation get forgotten because at that point in time, it wasn't clear how the different paths connected with one another. But if you look from our modern perspective now and you look really deeply and you say, I saw like all these different paths that people were researching at different points in time, and now seeing all of them together at this current time, I see a link between them. I think finding that link between maybe these old threads of investigation is really an important thing that can be overlooked. A lot of times it's more exciting to try to find something brand new, but it's easy to find something new and creative from what's already known. So you have to really dig into what's known in the primary literature, and has been my experience in my
I agree, because many times people want to, or some persons may want to work on something that's novel or come up with something that's novel. But as you look back on previous literature, whether it be in a discipline in chemistry or a discipline in science in general, as you look back at previous literature, you can gain insight that can complement you doing an experiment better or adjusting some type of parameter within the experiment. So yeah, I do agree. That is very important. So how do you maintain a view of the bigger picture in your career and in your life in general?
Yeah, I think this question gets at one's worldview.
Okay. So
my personal worldview is that I'm a Christian and I have faith in Jesus. And for me, it's kind of a freeing thing, because maintaining the bigger picture of my life, that is the bigger picture for me. So I'm not tied to like being a perfect scientist or like being a new hero of scientists, like trying to be the new Einstein or whatever your favorite scientist may be.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I don't, like, although I do like to try to like strive for perfection, if I fail, that's not a problem. I don't need to be perfect to like redeem my life. I just need to do my best, and as part of my personal like philosophy, which I think is tied to Christianity, trying to be the best version of yourself and leave the world better than you found it. Yeah. I think that even though that is my goal, if I fail, it's okay, because I don't need to be the best in order to be doing my part. I don't need to be successful. I just need to be really doing my very best and doing it with.
Yeah, I agree, because my worldview is based on my Christian faith as well, and my understanding is as we progress and as we move along, we try and get better day by day. It's a journey, so you don't have to like arrive or be some perfect person. So at the end of the day, we're gradually becoming better. So yeah, that does play a large role. A faith perspective does play a large role. So as we conclude, what have been your long-standing interests in the field of science? If you had to summarize it in like 2 or 3 sentences, what have been your long-standing interests in the field of science?
I think now one of my long-standing interests is like conversion of fuel, like making a way for us to power our planet in a way that is better than our current systems.
Okay.
This relates to like it's long-standing in the fact that when I was a kid, one of my dreams was to have a Lotus Exige, this like fancy kind of niche sports car.
Okay.
But as I grew up, I came to see that I felt like a bad environmental steward if I were to buy a car that has 10 mile per gallon fuel efficiency.
Okay.
So now I feel like I need to be working on like, I still want a sports car, but I don't want to be a bad steward of the environment.
Yeah, I understand.
It's beyond that. This is kind of like a trivial example and somewhat of a joke, but I think it's true. We want to maintain our lifestyle, but we want to be good stewards of the environment.
Yes.
How can we do that if we don't have technology that will allow us to do both? We can't do both equally in the current state of our world, and our future generations won't be able to do it if there is no more fuel. So I see that as like a really, really important problem.
Okay, that's good, man. That's very good. Thanks again for joining me today, Mike. It was good to have you here.
Yeah, it was really good to see you, and it was nice.
Welcome to the New Chemists podcast. We are glad you are listening. We are one of the best chemistry podcasts globally. We encourage you to subscribe and continue to listen.
Welcome to the New Chemist podcast, one of the best chemistry podcasts globally. We are glad you are listening. We encourage you to subscribe and continue to listen.
Welcome to the New Chemist podcast. We are glad you are listening. We are one of the best chemistry podcasts globally. We encourage you to subscribe and continue to listen.
Welcome to the New Chemist podcast.
We are so glad you are listening. Feel free to subscribe on Spotify and tell your friends and colleagues about the podcast.
Our Deepest Fear by Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Deepest Fear by Marianne Williams.
You are very important, especially to us here at the New Chemist podcasting group. You listening in is significant.
Vous êtes très important, surtout pour nous ici au New Chemist Podcasting Group. Votre écoute est significative.
Usted es muy importante, especialmente para nosotros aquí en The New Chemist Podcasting Group. Usted escuchando, es significativo.
Você é muito importante. Especialmente para nós do The New Chemist Podcasting Group. Você ouvindo, é significativo.
Είστε πολύ σημαντικοί, ειδικά για εμάς εδώ στο The New Chemist Podcasting Group. Το να ακούς είναι σημαντικό.
Sie sind sehr wichtig, besonders für uns hier bei The New Chemist Podcasting Group. Es ist wichtig, dass du zuhörst.
Je bent erg belangrijk, vooral voor ons hier bij The New Chemist Podcasting Group. Dat je meeluistert, is veelbetekenend.
You are very important, especially to us here at the New Chemist Podcasting Group. You listening in is significant. Welcome to the New Chemist Podcast.
Bienvenidos al podcast del nuevo químico.
Καλώς ήρθατε στο podcast του New Chemist. Welkom bij de podcast van The New Chemist.
Bienvenue sur le podcast du nouveau chimiste.
Bem-vindo ao podcast do novo químico.
Welcome to the New Chemist Podcast. Work hard. Be value-driven. You can do it. You can grow and learn it. You can be the difference you and your community needs. Don't give up. We are here, rooting and cheering for you. Don't give up.
Travaillez dur. Soyez axés sur la valeur. Tu peux le faire. Vous pouvez grandir et l'apprendre. Vous pouvez être la différence dont vous et votre communauté avez besoin. N'abandonnez pas. Nous sommes ici pour vous encourager et vous encourager. N'abandonnez pas.
Trabalhar duro. Seja orientado por valores. Você consegue. Você pode crescer e aprender. Você pode ser a diferença que você e sua comunidade precisam. Não desista. Estamos aqui torcendo e torcendo por você. Não desista.
Δούλεψε σκληρά. Να οδηγείτε στην αξία. Μπορείς να το κάνεις. Μπορείτε να μεγαλώσετε και να το μάθετε. Μπορείτε να είστε η διαφορά που χρειάζεστε εσείς και η κοινότητά σας. Μην τα παρατάς. Είμαστε εδώ για να σας ζητοκραυγάσουμε. Μην τα παρατάς.
Trabaja duro. Sea impulsado por el valor. Puedes hacerlo. Puedes crecer y aprenderlo. Usted puede ser la diferencia que usted y su comunidad necesitan. No te rindas, estamos aquí animándote y animándote. No te rindas.
Werk hard. Wees waardegedreven. Je kunt het. Je kunt groeien en leren. U kunt het verschil zijn dat u en uw gemeenschap nodig hebben. Geef niet op. We zijn hier om voor je te roten en te juichen. Geef niet op.
Work hard. Be value driven. You can do it. You can grow and learn it. You can be the difference you and your community needs. Don't give up. We are here rooting and cheering for you. Don't give up.
Thanks for listening. We're glad you were able to tune into this podcast. Once again, this is The New Chemist, where we discuss chemistry, which simply put is the science of change, as well as the other sciences, careers, community, research, and COVID-19. Thanks again for listening. Note, the views on this podcast represent those of my guests and I.
In the world of pharmacy, we lay the claim. Knowledge and compassion is the golden flame. Science and practice, side by side they groove. In a student's journey, we find the move.